Let's see if we're actually live now. Good morning, everyone. If you're here with me, I'm just checking that it's actually working.
Okay, I'm checking as well.
This is
Okay,
a very preliminary.
testing. So it's not on yet on my end. There are people here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I guess I'll follow a little bit.
Yeah, I think we're live. Yes. Okay.
Are we live?
We are live
Are we
indeed.
alive? Are the dead artists alive? Well, not that I'm an artist, or I don't know. Are you an artist, Yonatan?
Not yet. Maybe someday. Okay, welcome, dear viewers. If you are here with us on this beautiful Saturday, I'm delighted to have my dear friend Luke Travers here. Luke is I think, the best art appreciation teacher that exists in the world. So
Ooh, that's big.
it's a big honor and a privilege to have you here join us for the first live Dead Artist Society session. So welcome, Luke.
And it's an honor and a privilege to be here to celebrate dead artists.
Amazing. So I see we already have people in the chat. Fantastic. Welcome, everybody. So just a bit of an overview what Dead Artist Society mean.
What is it, Yonatan? What are the dead artists?
So the dead artists are those amazing artists that used to roam this earth and bless us with their magnificent works of art, and now they're gone, and some of them have virtually been forgotten. Especially the one that we're going to discuss today. He was forgotten until late 20th century, by the way, virtually forgotten. So without further ado, we're here today. We're going to celebrate a few works. We'll start with one, and if we do well, we'll have another bonus one, a work by Caspar David Friedrich, the giant German romantic painter. Are you ready, Luke?
I want to ask first.
Yes.
Caspar David Friedrich.
Yes.
Why did you pick him?
So I picked Mr. David Friedrich because he has been an obsession of mine since high school. I remember when we first learned about romanticism. I was like in art history class, and we were learning about romanticism, and I remember seeing the picture of the Wanderer above the Sea of Fog as the first example of romanticism that I learned about. And ever since then, that photo has somewhere been around my life. I was always fascinated by that, and as
Did you write about that painting? Did you on your blog?
Many different times, and too many probably, but it's never enough. I had the privilege of actually seeing this painting 3 times last year in person, or was it this year? Last year, and it's the greatest. But of course we're not going to talk about that painting today.
Okay.
Friedrich was an amazing universal and quite philosophical painter, which is why I am particularly fascinated with him these days, because he's very metaphysical about his painting.
Okay.
It's very philosophical, very
Okay.
Sometimes it's also ethical, sometimes it's political. But what I like the most about him is his metaphysical subjects, which means, these are big words, it means that he is talking about what is this world? Is it a good world? Is it a bad world? What is man's role in this world? And he uses landscapes to discuss that. And in the painting I will show you here, Luke, it'll be a good example of that.
It's interesting. For the first live in-person Dead Artist Society talk you gave, you did an artist that does everyday life, normal scenes that I would not think of as metaphysical. Jan Vermeer. Milkmaids and servants and close quarters within homes. And with Caspar David Friedrich, it's huge vistas and dramatic scenes. So very different. Are we seeing a different side of you with this?
Yes. Yeah. You're seeing the more I think the more a relevant side of me. Vermeer is a new thing for me. It was a new thing for
Ah,
me. If I was asked, I was specifically asked to do Vermeer by our dear friend Mark, who actually initiated this whole thing, Mark De Cuna. And he
shut
asked
up,
me to
Mark.
do. Shout out to Mark, yes, absolutely. And he asked me to do Vermeer. If you would ask me, Luke, which painter would you like to present as the first edition for the dust? It would have been Caspar David Friedrich, which is why we're doing this today.
I see. Excellent. Excellent. Um, by the way, so I don't know what artwork you've picked out. I'm excited to see it. Maybe I've seen it before, maybe I've not, but I'm excited to read the artwork with you and then to ask questions about it and then to see how it might relate to Caspar David Friedrich's life and his metaphysical ideas. You want to say anything
Maybe,
else before you shows me?
maybe,
Yeah.
maybe. Look, I would ask you about your own relationship with Caspar David Friedrich.
I initially wasn't a huge into Caspar David Friedrich. I didn't really
Mm.
see much, but a few years back, I started getting into landscapes a little bit more, and then I started seeing that there was much more to just a standard landscape. This was not a Bob Ross painting where they're happy little trees and you got a nice vista. Like you, I started seeing him as saying something about human beings' relationship, not just to nature, but to the world,
Mm.
to existence. And yeah, I've done a little bit of research. I've taught a little bit about him. I've seen several works of his, but not as many as you have. So
Hmm. Okay,
I'm curious
that's
for
cool.
about this dialogue.
And
Yeah.
I think that this, if I may comment on the general, why I think we both are interested in it, because we both come from a similar philosophic background. We're both considering ourselves at least students of Ayn Rand's philosophy of objectivism, therefore we are interested in this kind of big,
Yeah,
philosophical
big
issues.
picture. Yeah,
Yeah.
how art can really show you a kind of vision of big ideas and your relationship to the world and what it means to be a human being. Mhm.
And that is very different than Vermeer, for example, which
Do you mean, Yonatan, we're not going to talk about the individual brushstrokes and the I don't know, the composition and
we'll talk about the composition,
okay, okay.
yeah, the composition definitely, but the scale, I mean, the theme, the
Hmm.
subjects is going to be very different. Okay, without further ado, I see we have a bunch of people watching us live, which is great. So we would also like to encourage
Hmm.
audience participation in the chat. I'll be very intrigued to hear what do you guys think as well. So let us just share the screen and
All
do this.
right. Bum, ba, da, bum.
Right.
Let's see.
Do you see it, Luke?
Whoa. Yeah, this is Winter Gnarly Trees. That's my initial title. Winter Gnarly Trees. So I'm seeing like
That
two
I'll be
trees,
very intrigued
one
to
going one
hear.
direction and the other tree going in the other direction. Uh, and there are a lot of stumps that are cut down. Oh, and there's a person back there who's stooped over in the middle of this desolate winter. And it is such a desolate winter. I can't tell if it's nighttime or not because the snow and the trees are so bright, but the sky is so dark. It's freezing here. Absolutely freezing. A poor guy. Why is he out here? It looks like he's hunched over with some kind of stick. Is he crippled? He doesn't look like he's got enough clothes on. And is there anything else around? Is he near a town? And why are those trees cut down? He's just standing there. Is he taking it in? Boy, that tree is kind of scary. The roots of that tree are almost like branches as yeah, it's almost as if you flip this painting over, you could have the ground, the dark of the sky be the ground and the light of the snow be the sky, and those would be the roots would be kind of branches reaching out into it. Oh, okay. I have no idea why you picked this one, but right now I'm starting to think about moments in my life where I have been really kind of uncomfortable around nature. I'd I'd be curious also. Oh, I can't hear you, Yonatan. I can't hear you.
Oh, now you can hear
And I'd
me.
be curious to, yeah, I can hear you now. I'd
Hmm.
be curious if anybody who's viewing in the chat wants to put down their immediate impressions or what they're seeing or
Perhaps we should
maybe an
get some
initial title.
first titles. Yes.
Yeah, first titles. Yeah.
Friends in the chat, why don't you come up with your own title? It doesn't need to be anything too extravagant, but what is your title for this painting? And by the way, I have you seen this work in real life,
Uh,
Luke?
I haven't seen it in real life, and if I've seen it at all, it's been briefly.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't remember it.
I've seen it.
So
I've
I'm
seen it
intrigued.
in real life,
Oh,
and it's a special treat. I think it has grown to be one of my absolute favorites, and I think you can already tell why. Um,
I'm not quite sure why. Okay, but I'm starting to try to piece things together. I was thinking these trees were dead at first, but I'm seeing there's some leaves growing on the back
yeah, on
tree,
the
but
left. Yeah.
yeah, but that tree also, are those dead leaves and it's just a residue of what had been the fall and now everything is dying, or is
You want
something
me to
growing back?
zoom? We can
Oh,
have a bit of a
look at that.
zoom.
Look at that. They do look red and dark.
And you see the same red on the head of the person.
That's true.
Is there a link?
I do see a hint of the red. It's almost like a hat, or I mean, to my eyes, almost like a bandage. Uh,
Hmm.
there's some flowers too in the midst of the
Yeah,
snow.
we have some flowers here, but
Yeah.
the way these trees have been cut, also, if you look at it, it's so violent. If you look at these ones, for example.
Those are violent. The others look kind of neat. Yeah, the others look like they're clean cuts. And then these others are violent, but I don't see any trunks around. So if their trunks were around and they're just cut off, they've been dragged away, and now you're just left with nothing. But these trees that we're seeing, these gnarly trees, they survived whatever cutting had happened. Oh, and
Hmm.
that stump in the and right beside the first gnarly tree, that looks like it's been violently torn away. Is it a storm that's done this? Are these
Yeah,
lone
where you can
survivors
think
in this winter storm?
you can think of that, yeah, and there's also I like to think about because there's another it's another instance of a back figure, Rückenfigur, which is a very famous characteristic of a Caspar David Friedrich landscape, where you see the person from the behind, you see his back, you don't see his expression, and that gives you a lot of room for speculation. It gives us a lot of room for to have a discussion about this because what if his face is terrified, right? You think about his face similar to Edward Munch's The Scream, for example. He's like that. Maybe he's seeing something there. Maybe there's like
He
a
does look
wolf.
like he's kind of staring off, doesn't he? Not like he's standing, but something in the distance that he's catching his attention. But I can't see what he could be looking at in the distance.
Maybe this tree is blocking. Maybe there is something there. Maybe this massive tree is blocking our view of perhaps a danger or perhaps a cabin in the woods. Could be all sorts of different things.
It doesn't look like there'd be any cabins around.
Yeah,
I don't see any roads. I just see the on the horizon kind of some sloping
hills, yes, over there.
yeah, and maybe the haze of snow being windswept. You know, kind of like maybe there's a hint of white light on the horizon just above that's almost like wind is blowing snow off of those hills to cause it to kind of create a little bit of that wispiness.
Hmm. What are some sounds? Look, what are we hearing in this scene? Yeah,
Trying to make some whooshing sounds.
yeah.
So there are the whooshing sounds, maybe some creaking as some of the winds, because there's some really spindly branches going on here.
And
Oh, this
when you hear these winds, look, you feel the cold, right? You feel the
I'm wondering. I'm looking at that guy, whoever that person is, and it looks like the elbows are pinched in and the feet are together,
Mhm.
and almost as if I mean, they are not wearing enough for the cold.
No.
Definitely feel the cold here. This might be one of the coldest feeling paintings
And I
I've
think
ever
also
seen.
the almost black color of the sky, which is incredibly dramatic. The contrast between the black and the white snow
And this is the
also
question I
gives
have for
you
you
that.
for yeah, for seeing it in person. Sometimes photographs kind of
Hmm.
they adjust they pick up kind of the terrain of the painting and cast different lights. So
Hmm.
it's is it blacker in person?
It's blacker, yes. It's really
That's
black.
what I was wondering. That's
It's
that's
it's almost like a void, which is very interesting. I think very unusual, very heightened. And this is a feature of a romantic painting, right? It is a dramatization. It's not just it's not Caspar, was standing there just painting. He made it up. This whole scene is made up. He painted in a studio, and he wanted this. Everything about this composition is so
hmm
meticulously placed. If you We have three parts here. We have
hmm
the small part between the two trees with the person in the middle, and we have the left and the right side with these two trees, and the way they are branching out is also very dramatic. They're going, one is going there and one is
Yeah,
going there.
they're going in completely different directions, and they're bending in tree the way trees are not necessarily supposed to bend. One of them is at a 45-degree angle. The other one, its branch is almost longer than the trunk of the tree itself. It feels like it's going to topple over. These are old men who are about to tumble over in the midst of this wind in the middle of this dark void.
Yeah, we have some initial titles in the chat. Let's read them out. Raj, hello Raj. Raj says the big tree and the man are both. Oh, that wasn't the title. Sorry, but Raj commented the big tree and the man are both bent. Interesting comment. Yes, you can see
Oh, that's
the.
true. Yeah.
It's yeah. There's something about the curvature, which I think also adds to the uncomfortable feeling that you're getting. Right? He's not in a comfortable posture. This man,
That's what
and
Daphne is saying in the chat. That's if you try the pose out yourself
yeah.
and bend down like that, it's not gonna feel good. Yeah.
Let's
And
see what
Mike
else.
also is saying
Yeah,
can't get past his stoop.
yeah.
Yeah.
When I was looking at this, I wasn't focused on this truth, which is interesting. When you have you look at, which is a big virtue of your art tours, you have so many varying opinions when you have a big group of people looking at the same picture. I was not focused on the ways being uncomfortable. I was focused on the background. I was focused on what's there,
Mhm.
what's lurking in these shadows. So it's interesting to hear. What else do we have from the chat? Alec calls it surviving desolation. I think it's fairly apt, don't you think, Luke?
Yeah, desolation's a good word. Because there's a
Um,
suggestion that there was once green forest. I can imagine this scene in the summer, maybe a few years back when there were more trees, and now the desolation has set in. This is post-apocalyptic.
Quite, yeah. It could be possible. You could.
Yonatan, what are you doing to us? What are you doing to our soul? What are you revealing about your soul?
Yeah, the fact that I like it. Yeah, what does that mean about me? Who else? Let's see. Jean looks like a gay through of live withstanding harsh weather and rough snowy wasteland. Absolutely. What else do we have? The trees spread apart as if taunting the viewer to try and find out what the man is seeing. I noticed that after you pointed out he might be
Oh,
staring in the distance. Yeah,
like curtains spreading
yeah, yeah.
out. Yeah.
That's a good comment.
Thank you, trees.
Um, who else? Mike says you read out. It makes him feel. No, Mike said it makes me think of Marcus Aurelius' comment about how your problems seem small when considering the immensity of the universe, but here the man is still stooped. I think it's a very good comment, Mike, and it's a theme in a lot of Friedrich's paintings about making man seem small in comparison to the world, to the universe. And there are exceptions. The Wanderer Above the Sea of Fog, and
So this is very different than Wanderer Above the Sea of Fog.
ve-
Yeah, that one
exactly.
feels like a master of the world. This one, I'm caught in the middle of the desolate gloom all around me, stooped against the cold, and looking around at whatever is around and not moving anywhere. He looks lost, but he can't be lost because well, he's not in the middle of a forest, but it looks like there's nothing. It's just desolate plains all around him
Hmm.
and black, stark black.
Doesn't it give you the feeling like as if this is like a studio, and this is just a set, and Friedrich just placed that
Oh,
guy in the middle to show us, to tell us something. This is how I look at it. Like, there's nothing organic about this scene at all, yet it kind of does feel organic. Does that make sense,
yeah.
what I'm saying, Luke?
I I think there's an artificiality that I think you're helping me to see for this scene. It feels like those silent movies from the 1920s when they wanted to create a dramatic setting and it's stark and black and white and it's pieced together. This feels like it's pieced together
Mm-hmm.
to create this stark scene. So, Yonatan,
Mm-hmm.
who is this person there? Is it a cripple? I've seen
I
paintings
don't
of
think it's
his
a cripple.
where he has cripples in them in the middle of the stark scene,
I
but you
I
don't think it
think,
is.
well, if you think about the Wanderer, he also has a stick. He has a walking stick. The
That's true.
Wanderer,
Yeah.
and so you could think maybe this is the Wanderer on a bad day, on much worse weather, because they have the same stick, although the hair is different. But maybe he's wearing a cap. I'm not actually sure. Um,
Yeah.
there is, I think, a commentary here that could be as follows: Life is hard. There is death. There is cold. It's tough. But something can still grow out. There's still something that
Oh, so you're
grows.
seeing hope. You're seeing some hope.
Yeah, you can see that, I think. Because he hasn't been eaten, right? And you don't
Nothing
see.
can live out there to want to eat. It's all dead.
Well, what about polar bears? That you don't see any polar bears coming after this guy, right? You don't see any imminent danger. We think he's being very cold, but it's the
I
aftermath
so
of a
much.
blizzard. This is not the blizzard. This is the aftermath. The clarity and the
Oh,
blackness, I
okay, that's
think,
an interesting point.
tells us this is an aftermath of a blizzard.
That's yeah. I like that point. I like that point a lot. Yeah, the residual snow on the tree branches, the fact that you get a little bit of wind suggestion in his outfit, but
Hmm.
not too
Not,
much
not too
in the
bad.
branches of the trees. I don't really see much wind there or in the grass. That the
Hmm.
plot of like little shrubs or grassy stuff coming out right below the base of that trunk that's right beside the guy. It's not moving. And the only
Right.
wind might be in the distance where I wish this is where I wish I could see the painting in person because I'd really want to see that the horizon wisp of snow there. So yeah, this he's standing up. Maybe
He's
if it
standing
was
up. Yeah, maybe he's figuring out a way. Maybe you don't see, like, on the left side, on this side. Maybe he has a cabin there, and he's
no,
just.
he doesn't have a there's no cabin there. What are you talking about? There is no cabin there. All right.
Maybe there is.
So I want to try to give a one sentence summary of what I'm seeing
Okay.
and let me know how it sounds to you.
Okay.
So my one sentence summary is in the middle of a dark, bleak, post-apocalyptic winter, a man gazes upon the void around him.
Hmm. That's it.
That's it. And you know what? If I put myself in his position, we're seeing the trees, and as
Hmm.
someone mentioned earlier, they're kind of opening up for us to see. But the trees, he has no trees in front of him. His
Hmm.
view is of just the light of the snow and the black of the sky.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting
That's
point.
his
Yeah.
view.
He
That's what he's
doesn't look at the
staring at.
trees. That's right. Yeah, and we are focused on the trees. For him, the trees are irrelevant. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that.
But it sounds like for you, there is hope. I think for me,
No, nothing.
the whatever those orange leaves are, whatever those flowers are a reminder of what had been rather than an
I see.
indication of what
So
is
you're
to
saying, yeah.
come.
So you're saying there's more death than life here. Therefore, it's a pessimistic view of man. I like that. Let's have a look at the chat for a minute.
Hmm.
Let's see what we have. Do you want to help me read out these? You better read
Yeah.
them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing a couple things about the clothing. Torun is asking, soldier or saying soldier's uniform.
That's a good.
Mike.
That's a good. If I may interject,
Yeah.
that could be a point because Friedrich had, as in many of his paintings, painted soldiers, and there was a time where he was particularly nationalistic in his paintings, and I could have brought that as an excellent example of a portrait of a chasseur. What's the name? Like a soldier that rides on the horses. What's the name? There's
Cavalier.
yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a painting with. So
Horseman. Yeah.
it could be
Chevalier.
it is a possible explanation. Torn. That's a good point. Yeah.
Okay, and then yeah, Mike is asking also about the clothes. And Jin Trax is saying I viewed it more as the silence before the storm, as a blizzard would leave more snow on the tree. Oh,
Hmm.
that's a pretty
Mm-hmm.
interesting point. I'm having a flashback to the scene of a photograph of a lighthouse in Michigan after a snowstorm, and it just looks like
Uh
an icicle. So
huh. Yeah.
maybe that's true. Maybe there's an oncoming storm that he might be staring at in the distance, and that perhaps, yeah, if there had been a storm, there would not be such spindly branches or floral remains on the tree. Okay. And Daphne's explanation, there is hope for nature, but none
Mm.
for man.
Very good. That's
So
putting
kind of
the.
combining your initial optimism um and my
Yeah,
gloomy
that's a
pessimism here.
good point, Daphne. I was at the exhibition, the Caspar David Friedrich exhibition in Hamburg, and there was a whole theme in the text that they were writing as explanations, as how much it aligns with environmentalism and how much Friedrich was actually an environmentalist, which is nonsense, because there was no such thing back then. But there was actual pessimism about our and perhaps skepticism about our ability to master nature. Remember, this is early 19th century. This is before we reached the North Pole, for example. There was actual skepticism. Is it even possible? Can men actually, master nature? And now the evidence we're having, we know it for a fact to be true. But then, early industrial revolution, not sure, not so sure. So Friedrich perhaps was embracing a pessimistic view of that. But if he was living today,
Hmm. Hmm.
maybe he
Hmm.
would have a different view. We don't know that.
um so yeah, getting more into Friedrich. So Yonatan, I was looking back at some notes I'd taken on Friedrich, and tr because I
Mm-hmm.
spent some time trying to understand how does he put himself in his paintings.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a
Yeah.
question I like to ask about these dead artists. When I look at a
Mm-hmm.
painting of theirs or an artwork of theirs, I ask them, so how do you personally connect, oh dead artist, to the painting you just made?
Mm-hmm.
And I found this quote that
Okay.
describes a little bit. It's from a book I picked up, The Spirit of German Romanticism, Caspar David Friedrich. And it's partially what he has to say. And apparently, Caspar wrote a lot of letters. So we get a lot of his letters and information from those, so we can get direct quotes.
Mm-hmm.
And then it tells a little bit about what he would do. And apparently, he's a pretty odd fellow. So here's a description of his experience going out into nature and what he would do and how he'd feel about it. And seeing this painting is making me think that he could easily put himself in this person's place.
Okay.
And this is quoting Caspar here. Everything is silence, silence, silence around me. The silence does me good, it is true, but I wouldn't like to always have it around me to such a high degree. So he enjoys going out in nature and having the silence around him. Maybe like this guy doesn't seem to be scared of it, but I don't want it to have it around me to such a high degree.
Yeah, he
And
enjoyed
then,
his studio. Yeah.
yeah, so he in one story he tells about how he went out for 7 days, 1 week by himself in nature without interacting with any other human being, just by himself. And this is what he had to say about it. I really cannot recommend this method to anyone else, the method of just going out by yourself and experiencing the silence, silence, silence of nature. I really cannot recommend this method to anyone else. It is almost too much for me. Gloom invades my soul.
Oh wow. Gloom invades my
Gloom
soul.
invades, or he says the soul.
The
Gloom invades the soul. He wants it. He wants to go out,
Yeah.
be away from people, and experience the gloom.
He
But it's
likes the
almost
gloom,
too
yeah.
much for
Yeah.
him, and definitely too much for other people.
Yeah.
So, Yonatan, is this too much for you?
For me, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's way too much. But yeah, you could imagine if based on that, you could imagine Friedrich being this guy, and maybe he has taken his hike a bit too far, and maybe that's the end of it all. That's what we're seeing here, perhaps.
Okay. So, why did you pick this one?
Why did I pick this painting?
Yes.
Because as we've seen in our discussion, it has so much room for having an interesting philosophical discussion of the painting with room for differing opinions. I could take the optimistic view and you can take the pessimistic view, and we can have we can rely on some things here to have a debate about it. I think
And
that
you know what it sounds like for Caspar? He took both.
he took
I
both.
want
Yeah.
to go out into the gloom. This nurtures me. This feeds my soul. But it also is overwhelming.
Exactly.
I need the gloom. I need the darkness. I feel like a Sith Lord. I need the
Yeah.
darkness, but
Yeah.
I can bear it up to a certain extent.
It makes sense if you read about his biography. His life was riddled with grief. There are lots of his brothers who died and very early, and he experienced that first-handedly.
That's right.
And, and I think that has a lot to do with it. But we don't want to psychologize too much, as we're not experts on that. But yeah, that could be a clue. To why he selected these themes, but yeah, I think I selected this because it's interesting, and I like that the paintings has an ambivalence, and that's I think the greatest quality. And notice this is actual ambivalence compared to if we take like a postmodernist or a painting where it's just nonsense. And you could have like a discussion, like a conceptual painting, and one has this opinion and that, and they both go into banter, but it doesn't actually have to do with what we're seeing here. Everything actually is put forward by Friedrich. That's how much of a master he was. He was able to convey such complex ideas in a painting. It's super difficult. It's much easier to write an essay or to perhaps even to write books is easier, because he doesn't have a 1,000 pages. He has just one frame, and with one frame he has managed to capture all of these things, and that's enough for me and you to sit here for 30 minutes and for our viewers to also enjoy a conversation about this. That is, I think, a true quality of a true giant, and there are very few painters who have achieved that.
What do you say to a second painting?
Oh, you saying we're done with this one?
Mm-hmm.
What about the audience? Any final remarks for this one? Let's see. Anything
And then
Raj
I think
Rodovich.
with a second painting, we can also shed more light on this one and
Mm-hmm.
see a little bit of Caspar's, the
Uh-huh.
dead
Yeah.
artist's soul kind of spirit its way through a thread
Mm-hmm.
of different artworks.
That's a good point, and I would like to add, I was at that exhibition that had all the famous Friedrich
Oh,
paintings,
I'm so
and
jealous. I'm so
and you
jealous.
could, yes, but maybe it'll come to it will be in New York, right,
It's
soon,
yeah, it's
and
going to be in New
hopefully
York
you will
in
be
this
there.
spring. I will be there with with my gloom filling my soul and my cane and my 19th century red bonnet,
We
whatever that
should do
guy's
a
wearing.
costume, yeah, we should do a costume.
Oh yeah, absolutely. A
But the one
Caspar
thing
costume.
you will get this when you're there. You see a similar atmosphere in all the paintings, and you hear a similar sound, the sound of silence. You hear that in all the paintings, almost all of them. And that's very interesting. Once you have the entire context, you see how consistent he was in these themes and ideas. This is really who he was. Okay, let's do the next painting. I'm stopping my screen share,
All right,
and
and I'm going to
you
share my
can do
screen.
yours.
Oh,
Okay,
okay. And I'm sure you've seen this one before,
okay.
but I'm still curious what would be your initial title, your first title for this painting.
Oh, okay. Initial title. Also, the chat. Give us
Mhm.
your initial titles. Let's see. Is this the New York version? No. Hmm. I would say.
So,
I would
yeah.
say it has something to do with the aftermath of losing your wife.
Whoa, the aftermath of losing your wife?
Yes.
You went from like optimistic for that gloomy painting, and now you're going really pessimistic here.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes. I'm
so
saying I propose this, Luke, and I haven't done a lot of thinking about this painting, so it's good that you
yeah, yeah,
brought
go
this.
for it. Describe
I
what you
haven't
see going on and what.
I haven't
And
wrote about this. Yeah, so I think this guy is wearing all black. He's a widow. The woman next to him is the sister of his wife, and she's comforting him because he just lost her, and he's looking at the distance, hope in the search for some hope. So I think that's what we're seeing here, and the tree with the dead leaves on the right side, but and which is symbolizes death, and the tree with the leaves on the left side, on the side of that woman, perhaps suggests that maybe they will become a couple, and maybe there is hope for them to have a second.
oh, now you're
What's
getting
it called? Yeah,
positive.
yeah. So perhaps
Yeah.
it is a grief, but there is hope because
It-
there is some life there.
No, I've read places where Caspar viewed his trees as characters almost, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
and that tree the with the dead leaves, I think yeah makes me think of the tree from the previous painting, filled with dead leaves and kind of slanted almost at a 45-degree angle and looking gnarly and maybe symbolizing some death. And then you're right, there is that tree. It's on the other side, the side of the woman. That's like maybe a weeping willow, but
Mm.
filled with leaves, full. And what are they
Yeah,
doing? What are they doing?
they're thinking about the future. The
Why the future?
because they've just been to a funeral, and this is the edge of a cemetery, and they're walking to this small little hill, and they're looking at the woods, and they're thinking, what will the future hold? He's like very sad, and he'll be fine. He'll be. It's just just death. It happens. But yeah,
Yeah, I could
she's
see
very.
her. She's got her hand on him,
Yeah,
which
she's
suggests that maybe
comforting him.
she's,
Yeah.
yeah. And so you said edge of a cemetery.
Yeah.
What did you see that's making you say that? That's suggesting that to you?
I'm imagining that, but the fact
Ah,
that he's wearing all black is like a dress for a funeral.
Okay.
So maybe
Yeah, and
just
she's not
walked
wearing
out
all
of.
black. Yeah.
Yeah, she's not.
But
Maybe
she's got half black
she got. Yeah,
here.
she's not a full. Like she's not first. Maybe she's not the first blood relative. So she's
Yeah.
less sad. So
Okay.
she's able
Now,
to comfort
the
him.
what is the most hopeful detail in this painting? And maybe this is
This
a good
the
contrast to
sun,
the other one.
the sun or the moon. That's the moon, I think. It's a
Yeah,
moon.
that
Yeah,
that that moon, that
yeah.
really, really, really bright moon, and
Mhm.
you can kind of see the sliver of it,
Mhm. Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
crescent of
Yeah.
it
Yeah. That's the moon. Yeah.
there, and maybe there's a bright star over here, like Venus or something.
Yeah.
But they're staring over at the moon. Ah,
It's quite romantic.
it is quite romantic. Okay. What
Else
more
are
do
we
you see going
seeing?
on?
There is this. You see this trunk, the that's also been like violently cut. You see on the left, just below the couple.
Yeah,
You
right
see
here.
that? Yeah, I think that is the death, the woman he lost. I think
Uh-huh.
that represents her, and she's behind him now, and he's moving forward with his potential new companion.
Yeah. Okay. So if in the other painting the guy's staring out into the void and saying something like, I am imagining a quote, "Oh
Yeah, we
darkness,
didn't have
you
a
are
quote for last one.
overwhelming me.
Mm-hmm.
Darkness, you're overwhelming me. It's too much." Maybe he's saying something like that.
Mm-hmm.
What could they be saying to each other right here?
She's like, you'll get over it.
You'll get over it. You'll get over it. Yeah. With maybe you'll get over it, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, you see the moon shines. He doesn't care. The moon. So there's
Oh.
still there things can change. So the moon gets completely dark and it gets very
Yeah.
bright. It gets full
Yeah.
and it gets. That's life.
Yeah. Can we can I get poetical? And then I want to get art historical.
Please, yes.
Okay. So poetical. I've got a poem that Caspar wrote about the moon. And apparently he
Okay.
wrote a lot of poems about the moon. And I only found one, but if there's some scholar out there who knows where these Caspar David Friedrich moon poems are, I would love to see them. But apparently he loved the moon. And
Mm-hmm.
like your suggestion, he did see it as a sign of hope and as symbolizing like resurrection, because the moon, dies and then comes back to life
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
for its cycle. But here's a poem he wrote about encountering the moon in the forest, being frightened, and then having hope. So here's what he says. Oh, and
Let's hear
then
it.
owls got a bad rap in this poem. It's a short poem, 10 lines long.
Okay.
Moon, your silver shines, pale and grave, peers through dark clouds. Owls, your hoots horribly resound throughout the fir forest. Alone, I stand here and afraid. Terror seizes me more and more. I mean, this is sounding like the previous painting, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Will no more joy appear from afar? Yes, I see through the tree trunks a faint hope, a dim shimmer. Alas, it is the remains of a long forgotten splendor.
Mm.
So he's there in the forest. The hooting owls are hooting horribly, and he's feeling afraid. And then suddenly he sees through the tree trunks the shimmer of the moon, and there is hope.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, puts you right there. Yeah, the owls. By the way, he painted a few owls. There are paintings of him with owls, and yeah, apparently he hated owls.
That's what I heard too. That his owls were like death. What? He and Athena would not get along.
No.
Um, okay. What is there anything more in the chat here you want to touch on?
let's yeah, we have quite a few comments.
Oh, Torrance
Um,
says the moon is so bright. At first, I thought it was a sun.
yeah, mistaken.
Uh,
Too.
Mike has, if the right tree is death, and those low tendrils coming at them is especially creepy. Yeah, that's some really creepy tendrils going on there. Mm.
Yeah.
And Amarantine says something ends, something begins, one tree is dead, the other living. You can't tell if it's twilight with a moon or dawn with a sun because it looks strange.
Mm.
Yeah, there's that a bit of ambiguity, even though
Yeah,
the,
which is common in
the
Friedrich. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's
it's
good.
so bright. That moon is so bright.
It
It
makes you think. Yeah,
imme makes you think of the sun, like
right.
for Torun as well. Thinking of the sun. And then Daphne saying their body language makes me see that they are not romantic to each other, but
Hmm.
friends
Yeah.
and such good ones. Huh. And Torun has a quote, even if we are standing in the shadow of the moon, we still have each other.
Mm. Yeah, that's
And then
beautiful.
and Mike is asking, is there something about them standing on a hill or incline?
I would like to think so. Well, everything is purposeful in a Friedrich painting. I think that's fairly obvious. I think that's the hope. I think that the and you see that the death is below, so they are going walking
Oh,
above the
no,
death.
no, 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 it's not. You know what's below?
What's
The fir tree forest.
the fir tree? Yeah, the forest from over the hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
So they've got the forest below and the moon above, and
Yeah.
that's their view. So that's
Mhm.
something interesting with when you talked about the Rukin figure, how we see the figures from the
Mhm.
back. It sometimes we're not quite clear on exactly what it is that they're seeing fully.
Mm, right.
Here we're coming up the path a little bit, and we don't see exactly the open view that they have.
Right.
We got to walk up the path a little bit more to see that,
Yeah.
and to know that what they're actually taking in is a different painting than the one that we're taking in.
Yeah, it's completely different.
There is
Yeah.
much more hope
Yeah.
in their painting than in our landscape view.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. I saw Raj commented before, but he deleted. So there are different versions of this painting. So I think there is a version where it's two men, but I
Hmm.
think this is the version with a woman. If I'm not mistaken, look, you can correct me, but I know there are different versions of this. That's why at the beginning I
I
asked if
think are
there's
there like three versions? There's one where
the
somebody's alone, maybe, and then two men.
yeah, this was Friedrich really liked this composition, so he
He
made a few
did.
different versions.
He
But
did.
I'm pretty
So
sure it's a woman. I'm pretty sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And Raj's comment touched on something. It's he said that the woman is identified as Caroline Balmer,
Mm.
his wife, and the the art historical tidbit that I wanted to bring up is that another of your favorite landscape painters and a friend of Caspar David Friedrich, Johann Christian Dahl,
Yeah.
um, a year after Caspar's death, Johann, takes a look at this and just assigns that this is essentially a portrait of
Mm.
Caspar
Mm.
and Carolyn.
Mm. Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
so it fits their marriage. I think this was like in the early 1820s, and they got married in 1818. And there are several of his paintings that become a little bit more hopeful after his marriage. Seemed
Right.
like it did him some good.
That's when he painted the Wonder Above the Sea of Fog. That's exactly
Ah, there you go.
when he was married. Yeah.
So now the art historical bit and looking at his life and asking Caspar, so Caspar, I know you went through periods of depression and also you had gloomy moments and you like let the gloom come into you and have the silence all around. I'm curious, I want to know when did you paint the other painting?
Which the other
The
versions of
previous
these
one.
ones?
Yeah, yeah. What by the way, what was the title? Is there a title for that one?
Uh, it- I know
I
the two
like it that you
men
don't remember the title. It's
contemplating.
great.
I like that the two men contemplating the moon. I know that's so it's man and woman contemplating the moon.
That's yeah, and the other one because I'm curious about the date for the other one, whether it's
Let's see.
before his marriage, where
Yeah,
he got a little bit more.
so this is the later version, with the man and woman contemplating the moon. That's the Berlin version. What we're
No, no, no.
seeing.
But what about the painting we just saw?
The previous one, that's an earlier
Yeah.
one. That's a much earlier one. It's Winter Landscape. I have the dates. Wait a second. The earlier one is from 1811, so it's
1811.
much earlier.
Okay, yeah, 7 years before he gets married. Yeah. So he's still in the mode of let me go off into nature by myself for 7 days without encountering another human. So looking at this, if this is indeed a painting of him and Caroline, is like I'm gonna go off in nature again, but I'm gonna have a companion with me to
Yeah.
experience like the hope and joy of nature.
Yeah, that's much nicer, and it's much
So
more hospitable this time as well. The nature.
now I'm brought back to the comment Daphne made. It doesn't look romantic; it looks more like good friends. As far from what I remember, there was a wide age gap between the two of them. Like he was 44 and she was 25 when they got married, and he had a hard time like adjusting to having somebody else in the house. Like he wrote about this in his letters, like, there's another human being here, and all of my decisions now I've got to take into consideration this other human being. And so the fact that now he's here with allowing somebody else to join him in his escapades out in nature is fuel for the artist's soul, and maybe this is like a recommendation for going out and finding a life partner.
Yeah,
Because it made Caspar go from like a guy staring into the blank void of the dark winter to somebody who's sharing the moonrise.
Yeah, absolutely, and you could also contrast it with The Wanderer, which is from a very similar time, where it's also a bit more much more optimistic.
Yeah.
Than the Winter Landscape. Yes, I would have loved to see a comparison. We should have had a comparison slide, but
Well, maybe
next
that could be
time.
something.
It's
For
very
next
important
time.
to make comparisons when learning
You
art
wanna
history.
flash back to the previous painting real quick? I'll stop my share,
Yeah, let's do a bit of a flashback.
and then we can maybe, if you want to, wrap up there.
So we're back in the
Whoa!
cold.
Cold, gloom, and you know what's accentuated here is that this guy's really isolated. Like he's between those tree branches. There's not much space for anybody else. There is no space for anybody else. Just him,
Yeah,
stooped over.
yeah. It was very, the solitude is a. It reminds me of another Friedrich painting actually. Maybe I'll show it very briefly. You know what? Look, this is an interesting one.
Oh, okay, all right. Now, good.
now
Let's see the soul come throughout.
Now we are. Let's do this. You seeing this one? Look.
Yeah.
Wait. Sorry. What happened?
Oh, sorry, very briefly. Oh, there we go. Yep.
Now we are sorry.
I'm seeing it on the YouTube. Yeah.
No, I don't see you though. Okay,
Oh.
yeah. So this one. You see this guy? Look.
Yeah.
I think I know what the problem is. Yeah. So this guy is also alone, right? Why don't I have it? Oh, I think I messed up. Anyway, let's do it for next time then. I'm sorry, I messed up the live.
Well, I saw it briefly, and it showed up on the YouTube.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't show you this one.
No,
Anyway,
I saw it, but a full tree alone. But
yeah, a full tree, a massive, very beautiful tree. Oh, I think I know what the problem is. I think I know. Wait, I can fix it. I did a wrong share. Now you can see it. Now you can see it. Sorry, apologies to my viewers. Now, you see this guy?
Yeah. Oh, no, I didn't see that guy. There's a guy there.
Yes.
Oh, he's tending his sheep. He's like relaxing against that big trunk. Yeah.
That's another one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's a tree to stand
That's
aside.
quite the tree. Quite the tree.
Yeah, not like those other trees that Poor guy is staring out into the bleakness. Okay.
So that's a more optimistic painting, I think,
So,
because it's about the virtue of being alone.
yeah.
But you know, the city is over there. You see, the city is right
Oh,
here.
yeah.
So he's
Yeah.
not in danger. He's just having a good time in the woods. Okay, but this could be for next time.
Well, let me ask this.
Yeah.
If Caspar were to speak to us from the dead, and he does kind of through his paintings, but imagine that he's like, he's now a ghost form and he's got his voice,
Mm-hmm.
and now he's like right beside you, right in front of you, and starts to speak in ghostly terms. Yonatan, what is he telling you? What is his soul telling you?
Mm. What does Caspar tells me? I think maybe he would say no every time we're explaining his art. It's actually the opposite. It's actually probably that's what will happen. Look, we can't really go into the psychology of a 19th century. He was born in the 18th century. Man.
What fun is that, though? Can we go into his psychology? I want to. I want to. I want him to come up and say, from what I understand of him,
Mm-hmm.
if he comes up and he says something like, "Yonatan, I am here to speak to
With the
you
thick
of the
German
power." I'm not gonna try a German accent. That's whatever. Okay, forget it. I'm here to speak to you of the power of nature to overwhelm you,
Yes. Yeah.
to frighten you, to terrify you, and to invigorate you. We talked about what metaphysics. Caspar
Mm-hmm.
David Friedrich shows metaphysics in his landscapes. I want to show you the gloom of life
The gloom. Yeah.
and the hope that is
The
that is
hope and
there.
the lack of hope sometimes. The death. Death is everywhere, you would say. There is kind of a religious element to
Mhm.
that, to his art as well. It was quite serious about religion. So I think that he would say to us that we are selfish, we are immoral, and all that. Uh,
No, I don't know if he'd say that.
no.
I think he would say implicitly, your personal experience, what you feel inside of you when you connect with nature, that's what's important.
Mm,
That's,
yeah.
and he's not going to use the word selfish, but it's implied that selfish experience
Yeah.
to
Maybe.
commune
Yeah.
with nature, not to have other people tell you about how it's
Yeah.
supposed to be, but for
And I think
you to
also,
feel it.
and also there's a very first-handed element to his art where, he goes alone to nature. He doesn't go to nature because it's just a popular thing that we're doing. He was a pioneer of a brand new art movement about landscapes. He was very original, and that is something that we also so he would emphasize going and exploring things on our own instead of
Yeah.
relying on other people's judgment, because when he was studying art when he was young, he didn't follow the traditions. He went to do other things. So that would be a life lesson I think you can draw from him. Absolutely.
All right, Jonathan.
All right.
This was fun.
Yes, I very much enjoy this, and thank you to all the viewers who have joined us in this wonderful discussion. Any final things we should say, Luke?
I want to say thank you to you, Yonatan. Thank you to the commenters, the viewers, the listeners later on, and thank you to Caspar for joining us.
Yes, thank you for Caspar, absolutely, for giving us the gift of this amazing, amazing art. All right, so we will see you in a future iteration. We shall announce once we have the details. But thank you very much. This has been the first edition of the Dead Artist Society live stream. So thank you very much, Luke, for joining me. It was a great pleasure, and I learned a lot about these paintings now. Every time, and just another thing, another anecdote. Every time I look at these paintings, I learn something new, especially when I have other people to discuss it with. Somebody notices something that I haven't seen before. No matter how many times I've actually seen it in person, in the computer, always learn something new. So always go and explore great art. Always go and explore dead artists. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your weekend, everybody. Thank you.